Hey darlings, how's my YouTube family doing? I know I haven't been posting in a minute. It's been a lot going on in my life. I don't even know where to start with you guys, but I don't have a lot of time. So, quick checkup on me. A lot changed since my daughter had dropped my granddaughter off on a truck. It was an emergency, and I have been looking to relocate and trying to figure out when I'm going to take my medical leave, all these things, and my finals. All of that happened on my final week of class. Isn't that crazy how, I'm not saying that my daughter's a demon or my family, but it's like things just don't want me to like really accomplish my goals. And that's what was happening. It was a lot of things just being thrown at me, right? And I'm making this video about anxiety, and it's going to be like a two topics about anxiety, and hopefully this thing don't fall out my ear as usual. Hold on, y'all. What I was about to say, y'all be like, how does she manage to still look like not like a bus hit me, right? Mashallah. I find time to pour back into myself, and I got to get my nails done next week, but I find time to pour back into myself, because if I let myself go, I'm gonna be like, you know what, this ain't working, my life ain't working, so I'm not about to do that to myself. So I owe it to myself to still pour into myself, and that would lead me to my other topic about self-worth. But the anxiety portion of it, this is the video about when anxiety hits you. And the thing about my anxiety is that it's generalized. And what that basically, hold on, my throat is dry. I just woke up, y'all, so let me go get my coffee. Oh man, hold on, y'all. I only got a few minutes to talk to you guys. I miss y'all. I'm gonna have to do, I swear for God, like I was about to do a live yesterday, but then I was like, damn, I gotta do this paper. I have to do a survey. So I decided to do for my class. I got to make a survey, and I'm going to do a survey for inward facing cameras. So that took a little bit of time, more than I expected, and I ended up getting sleepy. But I wanted to make this topic alive about self-worth, because I was listening to this lady's video. I hate that I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm limited for time. I was watching this lady's video the other day, and she was talking about breaking up with her partner, and it was some scandalous stuff going on with the partner. He cheated and all that. And I'm listening to the lady though, and it's like, all right, so we're gonna talk about that, but it goes into self-worth, and it inspired me to make, I was gonna make the video anyway, but listening to her, I was like, God wants me to make this video. So I'm gonna make this video throughout the week, because I can't address every topic why I want to make this video. Part of the video that I want to talk about is because something happened in my family in these last 2 weeks that was diabolical. I can't even really talk about it today because it's currently going on, and it's legal. It's stuff going on. I was like, whoa. It's like all week I've been slapped with surprises, and not all the way good ones. So I was like, oh my goodness. So scandal was going on in the background of my family, and another part of my family, this person, they're being mentally abused by their partner. So I was like, whoa. And I was asked a couple questions, like as advice, and I was telling this person they need to love themselves, but it's not just that simple, right? Anyways, y'all, let's get back on anxiety. I have generalized anxiety, and it causes emotional deregulation sometimes. When I say emotional deregulation, a lot of my anxiety stems from a lack of clarity, right? And if there's a lack of clarity going on in my life, it causes emotional panic. For example, I can't do toxic relationships. I cannot do the lack of clarity in relationships. I need surety. So like, let's say I meet somebody and things are going good, and they start acting like wishy-washy. They're giving you mixed signals, and I know a lot of people be like, well, that's not a good thing. For me, it's debilitating. Like if I'm into this person and they're like giving me mixed signals, or I can't do it. I need a man that is strong, got a backbone, know what he wants. And he's not afraid, even if he is afraid, he's not afraid to say, hey, I'm afraid. I love and respect the person that just can keep it real with themselves. Hey, I'm not feeling too good today. I'm not feeling too sure about this relationship because I've been through some stuff. I'm really scared to give my heart. Things like that I can respect because at least I know where I stand. And maybe that's the Scorpio in me too. But I like when I have to bring out that Scorpio stinger on somebody, it's usually because there's a lack of clarity or you just trying to play me or you just trying to test and push my buttons. So that brings out anxiety in me because there's a lack of clarity. So what people with anxiety that they have to realize is you got to get control over your life. That's one of the main things that will make you go into panic. Like you'll have these panic attacks. So let me go back real quick. My daughter calls me out the blue. Hey, Ma, something happened. Da, 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 da. And she's also moving or whatever, right? So she needed me to keep the grandbaby. Even though I call her my grandbaby, she's a preteen. She's 13. I still call her my grandbaby. Okay. And I'm like, sure. You know me. I always help people, right? Now, I've learned not to help too many people. I've really gotten better since last year. I don't extend myself like I used to. But when it comes to my granddaughter, that's a whole different story. You know what I'm saying? She could get anything. So I was like, yeah, sure, but what are we going to do? So she wanted to first send her to my other daughter, but I was like, my other daughter's been working really hard, so her schedule's been crazy. So for the meantime, between time, I had to keep her on the truck. I didn't realize how much I would have to reorganize just to keep my granddaughter. It was just totally different. And then I was stuck in Arkansas with this massive blizzard. I had to get towed twice because of the amount of snow. Nothing was able to get me off this ice. So it was so, like, my whole body was sore for like a week when that happened. I was with my granddaughter for 2 weeks. 2 weeks on the truck. I don't know how people do it with a bunch of dogs and kids and babies on a truck. That's a small space. And I like to have my nice little outfits. So a lot of the top bunk is just my clothes and, you know, things that I need. So I had to take all of that stuff down, put it in the bunker. My daughter had to take some of it to her storage. And then when she left, I had to restructure my whole truck all over again. Okay. So all of that's going on. A snowstorm hit. I had to do my finals that week. My phone is ringing off the hook because something happened in the family that I can't discuss on the thing right now, where it was legal matters going on. I mean, it was crazy. And then I'm still trying to figure out about the relocating. It was like, okay, so I was surprised that my anxiety hadn't kicked in. But what had happened was it was my adrenaline took over. My anxiety took a back seat for that week. My adrenaline kicked in because, you know, I'm very strong internally. So it was like, okay, we got to handle this. Let's just make it happen. But once all the stuff calmed down, you know, the granddaughter got off the truck, the phone wasn't ringing as much, bam, I had a panic attack. Ciao. And when I say a panic attack, it's not like when people say, it wasn't like that. But I was very jittery that day. And it felt like I was on a roller coaster. My stomach was uneasy. I couldn't eat. I was excessively worrying, but didn't have any specific topic that I was worrying about. It was just like every little thing that came in my mind, I pondered on it. I was like analyzing, overthinking. And I was like, what is going on? I couldn't control it. So that was my day off. So I was like, I hadn't taken my Buspirone in a long time. Buspirone is a mild anxiety medication because I can't do the other ones, right? It's just it hurts my brain. But I also take something called the L-theanine. You can get that at any drugstore. It helps with mood stability. So I took that and it wasn't helping. I took the Buspirone. The Buspirone makes me a little sleepy. So I took that and it was giving me like a little bit of a calmness. I went to sleep for like an hour. I woke up and the feeling was still there, like, and I was like, God, what is going on? I didn't realize it was a panic attack. I didn't realize that the anxiety had finally kicked in. And I mean, it was majority of the day. That feeling just wouldn't go away. I ate a little bit. And when I eat, it makes you nauseous when you have like a panic or you over worrying. So I was like, gosh, please, I don't like this feeling. It's like you can't control it. So I'm trying to calm down and I'm trying to figure out, okay, why am I feeling like this? Because I thought that once all the stuff calmed, I would be okay. But it wasn't like that. It was an aftermath. What probably happened was all that energy got stored in my hippocampus, where, it stores memory, the part of the brain that stores like your memory, your long-term memory. So it probably came into the form of like this overwhelming feeling, and it stayed there in my brain, and it was ready to process. So finally it's ready to process, and I'm ready to relax. But the brain is like, no, we need to process everything that just took place 2 weeks ago, ma'am. We're not going to just keep letting crazy situations happen and we don't know why. Because the brain and the body wants to have some level of control over your life. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't want you to just be okay with your life. One day it's great adventures, and the next day it's like calm. And no, we got to have some stability here. And now that I'm getting older too, stability is like the key. Peace of mind is like the key. So I was thinking like, okay, so because now I've gotten good at cognitive like cognitive soothing. I don't use too much external no more. I've learned to tap into my internal machine, right? Which is the alignment of myself. So I realized, okay, even though you're trying to come into alignment on this one day off, we still got to process everything that went down last week. So I was like, okay, one of the things that I wanted to process was, why did my daughter situation go that way, and why, like, what is she going to do moving forward that this doesn't happen again? Because I was like, okay, I cannot be coming to people's rescues on the fly when I got my own stuff going on. Not saying I'm not going to help people, okay? I'm going to help, but it shouldn't be where I'm the first person you think that, I can fix your problems. And this has been a long ongoing situation with people that know me, people that love me, people that depend on me too much. You see what I'm saying? People start depending. When I start showing people my strength, because the thing is, when people first meet me outside of family, I come off so like, I don't know how to explain it, but I come off very like chill, not really aggressive. But then when they see the powerhouse in me, how aggressive I can be. My aggression is not violent. My aggression is to get things done. So if I see a person saying they're going to give up, I'm the person that's going to be like, nah, that's not in our vocabulary. We're going to figure this out. We're going to figure a way to get you out this mess. And people start to kind of like use that as a crutch and not get their own stuff done. So I started to realize that, maybe in 2023, 2024. And then back then when I was making YouTube, if y'all remember my day one, shout out to my day ones. Love you guys. Remember I was kept telling y'all, like, I have a lot of anxiety. It was like, I couldn't control it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. That was one of the major things, a lack of clarity in my life. And then dealing with a narcissistic relationship. That was one of the biggest ones, because I was constantly, being there for that person and being there for other people at the same time, splitting my attention, still trying to be there for my nieces and nephews. They were just now coming out of the foster care system. I had a lot going on back then. So now that my life has finally taken a peaceful, more serene stability types, other than trucking, but I love trucking, so I could deal with, and I'm gonna get on that too. I thought things was going to be better. I thought the energies and stuff like that was going to be better. So when that stuff happens to you and you start to get to a momentum in your life, you don't want to deal with like things that's just out of whack. You're like, man, I just got out of this mess a year ago. I don't want to deal with this, So that's where my mentor was. But when it comes to your family, you got to be there for them. So that's why I think it finally hit me when I had that day off a couple of days ago. It finally hit me, and I was like, my life cannot go back to any of that drama or stuff like that. Even when that stuff hit the fan in my family last week with the legal stuff, even people that were calling me, telling me to make phone calls to this person and that person, I said, no, y'all gonna do it. Get somebody else to do it, because I got things to do. Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's going to get done anyway. Why do I have to be the first volunteer? Why do I got to be the one in the office getting everybody a cup of coffee? We're not doing that. So that's when they were like, well, damn. Because they would call my daughter and be like, can you call your mom and ask her? And my daughter was like, nah, she busy. She busy. So now my kids know Because they used to be the main ones telling me not to do stuff for people. And I used to be like, no, we're going to do it. But now my kids have no problem saying, nah, my mom's busy. She's busy right now. So that relieved me, but I didn't know it was going to hit me when I finally calmed down. I was like, okay, everything's going to be good. I was so happy because I had 3 days off, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get my nails done, pamper myself, do what I got to do. And then that feeling overtook me for the whole day, almost the whole day. So finally, what made me calm down was I started writing down the things that I was feeling throughout that week that I was going through it. I remember the day that my truck got stuck. It was the day before I made a YouTube short, and I said, when you get your truck stuck, use washer fluid around your tires. And I don't know if maybe something in the spirit realm triggered that and forced me to get stuck somewhere. I was stuck. It was so much snow and ice, I couldn't even move. There was nothing that was going to get me out of there but a tow truck. Even the tow truck almost slid off the, it was like a hill. Even like not a hill, a cliff. Even the tow truck was like a fan. The tow truck was about to go off the damn cliff. And I was like, good gosh, if that tow truck go down the cliff, my truck is stuck to it. So I realized it was not just that, it was something spiritual attacking me those 2 weeks. I'm not really going to get too deep into that right now because I got to go. But this spiritual attack that was on my life, not on my life per se, my life, but like my situation, it could be coming from people or it could just be coming from energies. And I'm going to get into that another day. But usually that means that you're about to have a breakthrough. And I know that. I already know it. I already see it, but I'm not going to talk about it. But when you're about to have a breakthrough, usually that's when you have the most spiritual attacks. And it could be attacks on the people that are connected to you as well, which is what I see going on. So I was like, all right, I see what it is, but I'm going to continue to combat it because I got to that point where I'm unbreakable. Only God could break me, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to just continue. I see what Satan doing. I was like, I'm not playing with you today, Satan. So I'm over here like I'm on a rodeo with this truck, the ice, and the truck is like flinging me with like force because it doesn't want to move, because the tow truck is like, I need you to turn the steering wheel. I'm like, I am. This thing wants to hurt me. Like this truck was going against me, right? It happened 2 days in a row. One at a rest area and another place where I had to deliver. Hot stinking mess, okay? Messed up my whole week. So all of that, with me knowing that I was being under attack, and my company sent me to the worst city knowing that it was going to be a snowstorm. Anyways, so that's why I say part of overcoming anxiety is you have to overcome the burdens. You got to overcome the obstacles. You got to face these obstacles one head on. And I know it's scary because a lot of these obstacles can take you out of here, right? Mentally, physically, spiritually. But you're going to part of having anxiety is you got to get a backbone, because anxiety may be a lifelong disorder, okay? Because it's partially hormonal. And some of these hormones, they're so programmed to react to stress immediately. So now it's part of your DNA. These are why some of these disorders, they cannot be reversed. They can only be they can only give you like coping techniques. It's like a coping style versus just being a drug addict and staying on drugs all your life. I'm not downing nobody that has to take drugs. Some people's anxiety is so debilitating, they can't even get it out of the beds. A lot of times it's attached to depression. Mine's is not depression. Mine's is not depressed oriented. Mine's is based off of neuroticism. So if you look up neuroticism is the inability to like get your shit together as far as your mental, like your emotions, your worrying, all these negative affectivities meaning like, how do you process certain situations? Do you think of it positively, like the glass half full or the glass half empty? If you're a person that's prone to high neuroticism, chances are you have a lot of negative affectivity within how you're processing your cognitive, right? So that I know about myself, and that's only with problems, only when it comes to stress. Now, I have a high optimism about my life. That's my personality, is very optimistic. So it balances out the neuroticism a little bit because I'm not rigid. If I was rigid and neurotic, child, I'd probably be a narcissist. But let me tell you, some of these character traits that I have saves me from looking at life in a narcissistic way. Does that make sense? We're going to talk about it another time. We're going to get deep into all those other type of things. But part of your personality will determine how you handle your anxiety. I'm a type A personality type. I don't know if a lot of people know the difference between type A, type B, and then you got the one in the middle. But I'm more lean to type A. So type A is very leadership, aggressive, competitive. I'm not all the way there, but when I was young, I was all the way there. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't tell me I was going to lose this. You couldn't tell me I couldn't get this. I was going to make sure I got that. But now I humble myself more because as I got older, I realized life is not all about how you see things. So I had to humble myself and realize, okay, as you get older, you have to be realistic. So I calmed down in a lot of my type A personality, but I still use it to get what I need out of life. Meaning I don't take defeat. I don't understand failure. Failure to me is necessary, but it's a necessary part of life, right? But I don't look at it as, okay, I failed, that means I'm the failure. No, it just looks like, okay, there's a reason why you failed. Maybe God didn't want you to have that. Maybe there was a bigger lesson in that situation. You see what I'm saying? Even how I look at heartbreak. I don't look at heartbreak as a failure. I look at it as a, like, I'll go through the pain. That's how I'm able to heal. I'll go through the pain because I'll sit with it. One thing about me is I'm not afraid to sit with my insecurities, my pain, my worry. It's like a drug, meaning when you get off that drug, it hurts. Your whole system gonna feel that pain. And I sweat it out, whatever I got to do. Whatever I got to do that night, whether it's lingering the next day, a month from now, I deal with it. And this is where I'm going to leave anxiety, right? This is the topic that I'm going to leave off. We're going to talk about this another day. But part of the main reason I want to bring up anxiety is you can cognitively battle anxiety because a lot of it is stored in your hippocampus of your brain in the form of like a PTSD. Your brain stores a lot of functions like routine, programming, task, fear. So these things can combat what you're trying to achieve. So let's say, you're trying to achieve a task, but it's fear-based. Let's say that task requires you to deal with other people. And you want people like me, I don't like public speaking. I like people. I'm social. But when it comes to like a whole group or getting up on a podium, I'm going to be like, I start shaking and stuff. My hand, I don't sweat. You know those people that sweat in their palm? I'm not a palm sweater. But when I got to speak in public forums or something, I'm going to be sweating out my palms. So me knowing that about myself, I would have to get ahead of it. I would have to say to myself, listen, it's not the end of the world. Okay? Even if they laugh at you, you still know you got to stick to what you was going to talk about that day. Everybody's not going to agree with what you got to say. Some people may not like what you got to say. Some people may just not like you. And they're going to make it where whatever you say sounds stupid. You know what I'm saying? They're going to make it look like you don't know what you're talking about. All these things I've already processed. So when it does happen, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't do that in relationships because that will be negative affectivity. You go into a relationship and you're like, well, they could potentially dump me, so I might as well just be prepared for the dumping. No, I go into it like I love love. I love connecting with people. And then when they disappoint me, the pain feels surprising. So I'm not prepared for that kind of pain. But then when I sit with the pain, and then that's when the cognitive abilities kick in to say, listen, you didn't make it with that situation. It's all good. Was there a lesson that you needed to learn from that particular dynamic? Maybe you were doing things da-da-da-da-da-da. Maybe you didn't see da-da-da-da-da-da that could have been avoided. You know what I mean? So that's like, you have to know when to use the preparation speech to yourself versus going with the flow. You cannot let life just debilitate you and say, I'm just going to stay in freeze mode all my life. Or I'm going to stay in fight mode all my life. You know, people that always want to fight? And you're like, dang, does everything got to be an argument? Does everything have to be defensive? Can't you just take what I said, let it marinate, and not get defensive? That's because that person may be in that brain of the amygdala where everything is fight or flight or freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. They wake up with the 3 Fs every day of their life. And it's draining. That's when it becomes debilitating because they're not balanced. Life has to have balance. Even in the religions, it tell you balance of life. You got to balance your life. Now, with the self-worth, I'm getting a little bit past my time. I got to get off. There was a situation in my family that made me think about making this video because I was talking to my daughter and I was talking to other people in my family. And this person in, not the immediate family, but they keep repeating a cycle of abusive relationships. And one of the things that hold on. One of the things that alarmed me about this person is that they're very good looking. I'm not going to get into gender, but they're very good looking. Okay. Probably can have anybody they want, but they themselves don't feel good looking. And one of the things is their body image. They're always talking about they want this type of body, this type of body. And by me saying that, you could kind of tell the gender at this point, right? Right. Okay. You know, I want this kind of body. And it's like, you wasn't born with that type of body. You know what I mean? Hold on, y'all. I'm back. I had to cool down. I was hyperventilating. Okay. So this person is kind of body shaming themselves, and their body is fine. There's nothing wrong with their body. I'm not going to tell you exactly what the body problem is, but that's how they look at themselves. And I don't want to get too detailed on the person because they might watch this video and be like, oh, were they talking about me? So I plan to make a movie and a book about my life, but it's going to be in series parts. Maybe in the next a couple of years, but the things that happen in my family is so diabolical on all levels: spiritual, mental, and physical. A lot of people has been experienced this dysfunction that's in my family through the cousins, the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents. So it's a generational curse on my family that I have to break. And I want it to be something that I leave as a legacy for my children. You see what I'm saying? That my mom was one of the only ones in the family that stepped out on faith, even if it was a testimony against herself, and she made it where she told the story. And it can be a beneficial tool to others. Anyways, this person is talking about the self, and this person is talking about themselves with negative affectivity. Negative affectivity is very dangerous to a person's psyche. So you have to be careful how you think. It goes back to your cognitive. If you were told all your life that you wasn't all that attractive, or maybe you're a black person, can't try to fit into a white person's world, so you were told you're too dark skinned, or maybe you a white person that can't dance and you were told you stiff as a board. I'm just playing. But whatever it is, and you just never got over it. So now everything that happened to you as a child, you're attaching it to your everyday life. So let's say you didn't get this job offer. You go back to, well, maybe it's because I'm black, or maybe it's because this, or maybe it's because I'm my attitude. And it had nothing to do with that. All of it had nothing to do with that. They probably just didn't feel like hiring more candidates, right? So that's what this person is experiencing. It's a lack of self-worth. And people don't realize, like, a lot of times their self-worth is attached to everything in their life. And you can't do that. You cannot attach your self-worth to everything external and stuff like that. You have to sit with yourself. This is what this person kind of needs to do. Sit with themselves and eliminate everything that ever made them feel good, whether it's a job, makeup, a relationship. That's one of the main ones. Money. Eliminate all that out your vocabulary and say, would I still be proud of myself? Would I still be worthy, and why? When you start to write these things down, it sinks in even further. So if you're a young person, and this person is young, way younger than me, is a young person that we're talking about. But it's very relevant in all ages, that this situation that's happening to this person. So you got to sit with yourself and say, if I had to eliminate all the money that I have, all the potential, what would be good about myself? What would I like about myself? What would be worthy about myself? One of the things that you have to find worthy about yourself is the fact that you freaking exist. Okay? The fact that you are here means something is good about you. Something is worthy. I don't care how. Look, I done had to tell people off that hurt me and be like, you da 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 da, you ain't da 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 da. Yeah, that could be their characteristic trait. But if they sat with themselves, they could figure out how to fix that. But are they worthy? Yes, they're worthy. You are worthy. Now, how do you compound on that is the question, right? How do I compound on my worthiness that I feel good about it? First, you got to feel good, period. You got to feel good about yourself, period. If you're overweight, if you're underweight, if you're not that attractive, if you're super attractive, whatever it is that you feel is problematic to your life, eliminate all those thoughts out your head when it comes to worthiness. We're not talking about goals. We're not talking about self-efficacy. We're not talking about confidence as of yet. We're just talking about worthiness. We don't want to put all these things in one category because they all require different elements to make you achieve these levels. So to achieve efficacy, you got to build confidence. And you can build confidence. I promise you. It's coming from a person who was shy. I used to be mute. Wallahi. I used to be a mute for 12 years of my life. I didn't say nothing. Even when I became a teenager and I started dating, guys thought something was wrong. Why don't you talk? What's wrong with you? And I say, I don't have nothing to say, but, I still liked the person. They liked me because of my energy. Guys still liked me. I wasn't giving up sex. So don't say, oh, it was because of the booty. I was still a virgin for a while, up until about 16. But what I'm saying is I was dating since I was 14, but I was just dating. I didn't know why I liked the guy. The guys came up to me. I really don't know what I was thinking at 14. I lived as a schizoid in my brain. Schizoid is something that all children go through, but they have to grow out of it. But mental illness or any type of extreme stress holds you there for too long. This is what narcissistic that are on the covert level experience majority of their life. Is schizoid. But I had it for quite a while. That's why I can understand narcissistic people. Because I was on the border. You understand what I'm saying? I was on the border of understanding that feeling. Staying away from people, not trusting people. Everything has to be super vigilant, and it turned into anxiety. But narcissism is also on the spectrum of anxiety disorder. It's just, how do you handle that anxiety? What do you do with it? Do you use it to hurt people? They're not sometimes always seeking to hurt people, but they're seeking to soothe themselves, and that requires becoming predatorial in their thinking. And I didn't want to be predatorial just to gain something. So I'll be the one, I'll just starve myself from supply. If I got to starve myself from supply, so be it. But there were times where I could have became narcissistic in my seeking of supply by being controlling, by being jealous, okay? Wanting to possess your, your partner. All of that is narcissistic. But that comes from a lack of self-efficacy or self-worthiness. We just got to get to the bottom of what's pushing these ways of why you're acting this way. Why are you acting this way? Why is your attachment style so dysfunctional? Maybe because the person, they use the attachment as a way to validate their self-worth. So it still goes back to them. If I can get this person attached to me, that means I'm worthy. So that's why they'll seek people with low self-esteem, low self-worth. They may not have narcissism. They could just have these dysfunctions, right? They'll seek people that will become clingy to them and they'll feel validated by it. But then when they get that feeling of validation, why are they not reciprocating it? Right? That's how you know it's not about that other person. It's something in that person that they're seeking to fix, but they don't know how to fix it. So what they're doing is they're using other people as a resource to fix something that's broken within themselves. And when they realize, okay, I've gained that feeling of validation, now let's deal with the real me. And the real me is an asshole or a bitch. So they turn around and they be mean or abusive, controlling, is because the fact that they don't have that self-worth, they still got what they needed, which was the validation portion, but it didn't fix the problem. They still have a low self-worth. So they're still angry because they thought it's kind of like going shopping to fix an addiction. When you go shopping and you realize, I still don't have that feeling of fulfillment. Why do I still want to go shopping? I just went shopping, right? That's what happens in the mind of a person that's addicted to that toxic love. They're like, why am I not satisfied? It's because it's toxic. There's a void there. There's something broken in you, and that person doesn't want to go fix it. They rather use a substitute. They don't know better, so they're going to go thinking that the person that they're with is going to be able to soothe that feeling. That nothing is going to soothe that feeling until they get to the root of the cause of the brokenness. This is why people that are damaged, they keep jumping in and out of relationships, and they don't learn the lesson. They keep going on going. That's why y'all don't see me in a relationship right now. I might talk on the phone to people that's attracted to me, right? But one of the things that I'm looking for now at this point in my life is solidness. A lot of people walk around with inconsistencies in their personality. I can't do that. What you see with me is what you're going to get. And if a person can't be consistent, if I see one day you off, now I'm not saying anybody can't have a bad day, but if your moodabilities, you're all over the place, what you want out of life, you don't have a clue, I can't do it because I'm not here to fix nobody no more. I used to be able to like work with people. Now I'm not. Come as you are or don't come at all. Because if that person can't be real, if they still worried about, well, I shouldn't say this because this person might say this, and they always worrying about your energy first and they can't be in their own energy, I ain't got time for it. That means there's a lack of self-efficacy in that person. And there's a lot of people walking around trying to use, okay, I don't want to jump too much. Let's stick to this part. They're going to do attachment styles that are unhealthy because they're still not realizing that they have to fix their brokenness. And part of fixing their brokenness is understanding that you cannot replace what you lost in your childhood. That's dead and gone. That's dead and gone. Hold on, it keeps feeling like it's falling out. So what happens is they keep all their life, whether it's a male or female, they keep trying to replay the dynamics of their parents or whoever raised them. So let's say it was a girl with a dad. She's going to try to replay everything that damaged her in the relationship with the guy that she meets. So let's say the dad was controlling. She's going to try to play, child, there's a mentally ill man walking around this parking lot with a computer. A laptop is not working and he's just looking at it and walking in circles. Child, I gotta get ready to go out of here. Oh, let me send my, hold on y'all. Let me send my my job a message right quick. I need an empty trailer. So I have to go pick up an empty. Oh shit, I didn't do that. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Oh, I thought that one was closed out. Hold on, y'all. Sorry, I thought my other load was closed out. I just realized it wasn't closed out. That's crazy. What was I saying though? I'm gonna try to multitask. These people, they'll try to jump into relationships and they thinking, well, this one didn't work out, so well, it's different reasons. I don't want to get into the reasons why they keep jumping in and out, right? But they like, okay, I can get it right the next time. But they don't realize they have set themselves for an addiction. So they're now addicted to the broken on off dynamic, meaning I break up with one person and I jump onto another body, and they get addicted to that adrenaline of the new, the old, the new, because the old is going to give you an adrenaline rush of what? Defeat, despair, because it didn't work. So now you got to replace that despair with this fake love, this oxytocin, this dopamine rush of meeting this new person, right? And all of that is just superficial, because those are hormones that goes up and it comes back down. So when that oxytocin go back down to regular, and you got to have a real conversation with this person, sorry, my AirPod fell out. I got to get off in about, I'll give 5 minutes. When that adrenaline rush comes down from meeting a new person, okay, this is why young teenagers, they be in and out of relationships, because they don't understand what connection really is. Not all young people, but a lot of them. So they just like the feeling of the adrenaline rush. And then sometimes people just like that friendship that you get out of a relationship, things of that nature. And then sometimes you got these people that they just perverts, and they like the lust feeling that comes, that urge that's constantly satisfied. They may have a sex addiction and things like that. But that's a deeper topic. So now this person is in and out of relationships, and they still don't understand why they keep getting attached to the new body. If you find yourself getting attached to the new person too quickly, that means something is wrong. Something wrong. So that leads me to the video I seen the other day. I'm not going to say who it is. This is a person that I follow. I watch their videos sometimes. It's a woman. And she recently is going through a separation. But what I find like a pattern behavior within her, I'm just looking around my surroundings. The pattern, and I'm not saying anything wrong. Hopefully I could start shout out to Omar. If you ever watched this video, Omar suggested that I do coaching for truckers. Trucking is a very physically demanding job. Not everybody gets paid good, but it's a good paying field. You can do it as a career. You have the option to do it as a stepping stone or career. There's too many homeless people around here. As a career. And it keeps you busy, right? But there's a downside to it, right? Because as humans, you want connection. Not everybody, but most people want connection. And they want some level of growth. So when you on the road all the time, depending on what type of trucker you are, if you're on the road a lot, you're not going to meet connections. You might meet people. Oh, he's smoking a cigarette. You might meet people he behind my truck smoking a cigarette. He picked out all places. I'm bobtail so I can see him. Is he sitting on my truck? No, he's sitting on a rock. So what I'm saying is, damn, what was I saying? Trucking is going to test your discipline, because you're lonely. Now, you got to be careful dating lonely people. You want to date someone that is single, alone, but is not lonely. If you're lonely, you have to check yourself and figure out why are you not happy. Now, it's okay to have moments of loneliness, but I'm saying if you're lonely all the time, like constantly, morning, noon, and night, that means you might have an addiction attachment to people. And when you finally meet a person, you're going to latch on to them unhealthily. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happened in my last relationship. Okay, we're not gonna talk about that. But my point is, I was listening to this person, and I noticed that she does that a lot. Like, she gets into relationships and she gets attached too quickly, and then she calls it love. Those patterns of behavior are unhealthy, because she was saying how, like, I'm going to learn from this particular situation. This person wasn't good for me. That's good that you have that awareness, that she has that awareness. But what I realized that she said was, I still want to be married. My next marriage or my next relationship, I'm just not going to do da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm still not hearing that I'm still not hearing that she's not understanding what's going. I don't want to say that because she just probably was making a video, didn't really talk about her deep inner feelings. You know what I mean? But one of the deep things that people need to realize is when you get out of a toxic relationship, you need to take a lot of time off from relationships and build it with connections with people, meaning your family members, your co-workers, a support group. That's what I want to do. I want to start a support group for women. They don't necessarily have to be truckers. We could do a trucker group, maybe like, let's say Monday or Tuesday, we do truckers therapy on Zoom or Patreon. And then we could do like maybe Thursday, a women's group, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe a teen group, because there's different levels of issues, not just with truckers. But one of the main issues with truck drivers is that there's an element of loneliness. This is why I love doing YouTube, because even though I'm not physically talking to y'all right now, there's going to come a time where I'm going to be doing lives and I'm physically talking to people. You know what I mean? But right now I'm so busy with school. My mind ain't really on connecting like that. So that's why I can still be alone out of a relationship. And men probably be on here like, why is she not married yet? I don't want to be married yet. At this point, the only reason I stuck it out with that last relationship was, one, it was convenient. And that's people that got to realize, when you're a truck driver, if you find a relationship where that person understands your schedule and you understand their schedule, it makes it that much easier. So when she met the girl that I'm talking about, when she made the video, she probably don't realize a lot of her relationships may be based off of convenience. How easy is it for this person to be in my life? How easy is it for them to start and be a part of my routine? But that's an unhealthy way to build a relationship, especially a lifelong companion type relationship. You need to know what you want. You need to write a list as to what is it that you're looking for in a person. Not what type of job do they have, not like how well can they control me. You don't want somebody controlling you. You don't. And this whole man-female dynamic, if a man is coming to a relationship and his main goal is to control you, that's going to be a very hard attachment to get rid of. It's going to be a trauma bond, because he has an axe to grind or a point to prove. He shouldn't be coming in there like, I'm finna make you submit and you gonna learn today, anime. Eat the cake, anime. If he's coming in already with that mindset, ma'am, you're gonna have a whole lot of problems on your hand. And one of the things that a lot of times with these guys that be having wandering eyes and cheating up the place is because they may not feel confident, especially if they ain't at the level they want to be in life. And here you come having 2-3 jobs or 5 incomes, and you know, like, you feeling good about yourself, and your body's good, and you feel like you know what I'm saying, where you at in life. Oh, they might have a whole problem with you. They might start putting their hand around your neck or bringing other women into the dynamic to make you feel like, well, I'm going to bring you back down to size, ma'am, because you think, and they might start thinking that, that's how it be. When people don't know self-worth, it's on both ends. That person that's doing the damage and the person that's receiving the damage. They both don't know their self-worth, and they are mirroring back to each other their issues. So even though that person might be a whole bastard case, an asshole, whatever, a narcissist, psychopath, whatever you want to call that person, her or she, they're going to mirror back to you your problems too. So you sitting up there like, oh, you so mean, you cheat, you this, you that, you devalue me. But you saying to them all their problems and what they going to do to turn around and say to you. Well, you sit up there and you act like you all of that, but you don't know how to carry your tone. You screaming down the place. You don't know how to emotionally regulate yourself. So you ain't all that either too, right? So what does that tell you? You part of the problem. Because the problem would not exist if you wasn't there in the first place. And this is the big lesson that a lot of people that take abuse do not realize. And I'm not saying victims shouldn't be considered the victim. Yes, they're the victim. But we have to get out of victim mindset, especially if you're at the age where you can control the outcome. If it's just a child, that's different. If you got deceived once, okay. Fool me twice? Fool me 3 times? There's a whole issue here. There's dysfunction that needs to be addressed. Why are you picking these people that don't value you? Period. If you're worthy, there's no way a person can come and make you unworthy. If you're worthy, you will not accept unworthy treatment. Period. As soon as you see unworthy treatment, I'm securing my attachment. I don't need this. I can be alone for a little bit. This right here, I don't need. I have to ask myself in moving forward, and I was asking myself in all my relationships, but mostly the last one. Can I see this person treating me like this for 20 more years? If God gives me 20 to 50 more years on this planet, do I want to be treated like this for 20 to 40 to 50 more years of this bullshit? Fuck no. That is a H-E double hockey sticks no. And if you ask yourself this question when you're with a partner, is this treatment I can deal with, whether they change or not, for the next 20 years, for the next 5 years? If you can't think that far, think, my accent. If you can't think that far to 20, 5, 4, 2, 3, 1, 30 days, can I deal with this crap? No. It's a hard no for a lot of people in these toxic relationships. But what happens is they feel like if this person leaves, it takes away their self-worth, their validation, because they have ego dysfunction. So now their super ego kicks in and tells them, the super ego, I'm going to talk about this another day, but the super ego is going to tell them that if this person leaves, that means you crappy, you're unattractive, you're unworthy. This person might leave and talk shit about you to other people and say that, tell the secret that you told them or whatever it is. You got to get to that point where I don't give a damn if I'm the villain in that person's story. You know the truth. Let them villainize you. Who the hell cares? They're a non-mother effing factor at this point. And another thing, stop protecting your abuser. I'm sick of hearing on these shows or videos, whatever, the person be like, well, I don't want to tell what he did to me or what she did to me. You think they sitting around protecting your name? They out there telling their friends, you's a piece of crap, you ain't got good coochie, or you whatever. They making up all kind of stories about you. You ain't shit. You ain't got no money. You ain't never you could have paid their bills. You could have gave money. They fixed their car. They'll be like, you ain't give them a dime. Even if you got the proof and the receipts. You tell your story before somebody tell your story for you. Okay? That's why I don't care what nobody say on this thing. If I got something to say about dysfunction, whether it comes from my mom, whoever, my ex, whatever, I'm going to say it. Because you're not going to abuse me and I'm going to be like, let me suffer in silence. I could see if it was a regular relationship. You learn, you live and you learn, you move on. But if this person was straight disrespecting you, punching you upside your head, punching your furniture, scaring your kids, cheating left or right, talking crap about you, disrespecting you, opening the door half naked for the neighbor to see they ding-a-ling, all this kind of crap, and you sitting there like, oh, I'm not gonna say anything, No, listen, you met the right one. They met the right one to talk crap about me. I will tell it all. Because they don't have no problem lying on you, but I have no problem telling the truth about them, okay? That's the difference. You got to be strong in this environment. This environment is not made for the weak. You're going to have strong people that's going to show you how to come out of your weakness. But you cannot be weak for the rest of your life. This universe will eat you alive. I'm sorry to say it like that, but that's the real. They don't have time for people to get it together. The way this system is going, they don't have time for people to get it together. So that's why people stay in a dysfunction, because they're like, you know what? It's going to take me too much time to reset this button. I'm going to have to go into a weak moment to figure out and vulnerable and figure out why I messed up, what I need to do. A lot of people don't have that strength to reset. I understood resetting for me makes me stronger in the long run. So it's a great long-term investment for me. I don't know about nobody else, but resetting always works for me. If I got to go 2 steps back to figure out how I got to this mess, I'm going to take the 2 steps back so that I could be like, you know what? These 2 steps back is going to make me way more powerful so that when I go forward, I will never have to fall in any more ditches. But people don't look at it like that because they don't take the time to use their cognitive abilities to strategize the way out of their problems. The same way you got into your problem, you can strategize your way out of it. Anyways, I gotta go. Sorry if I didn't hit all the things that I wanted to say, but it's a lot. I may come back on here later or tomorrow. We're gonna talk about this and dissect it in pieces. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.